All right, it's Wednesday. We haven't done one of these.
It is Wednesday, actually, though.
I think is it still Wednesday now, or is it Thursday?
It's past midnight, I guess.
Okay, it's past midnight. And it's also, we're coming to you from the past. Because
Yeah.
this is airing in like 3 weeks. All right, so we did a stream tonight. We did an RC Cola review, which you could go watch right now. Because we went and had massive fucking slices of pizza.
The biggest pizza.
Yeah, the biggest pizza I think I've ever had. No, actually, there used to be a place in Seaside Heights, New Jersey, called the Sawmill, where the pizza was as the pie was as big as the table.
Is that still around? Because I think I went there a few years ago.
Really? When they were filming.
Because I remember my dad being like, "I could eat an entire pizza, but it would be good and just." Have the one slice.
I went there when the New Jersey Devils won the Stanley Cup in 1995. We were there, and we watched the game on the thing, on the TV, on the thing. And then when I filmed my scene for Bongo the Killer Clown, it was in the off season, and I went to go see if they were still open, and they were closed for the season. But that was like my big thing after I didn't get murdered, and I wasn't in a porno movie, so I was like, I'm gonna go see if that big pizza place is there. Speaking of getting murdered, we just watched Sergio Romano, I think is the director's name. He was
Romano was the... Oh, no, that was...
Was it Romano Scavolini or something like that?
Very Italian.
Yes, his brother was the screenwriter of...
Could you just Google it real quick?
Your Vice is a Locked Door and Something is the Key or whatever. He did a giallo film. So this dude, like, he's a porn director. Hardcore porn, but if you ever read like interviews with him, he's just like he like talks like he's fucking Fellini.
Okay. Scavolini, yeah.
Scavolini, okay.
That's the last name.
Italian. Yeah. What happened to Tony? Did you hurt Tony? Tell us what happened to Tony.
Look.
I didn't kill him. Tony, CJ. That's not. That sounds like you might have done something, CJ. CJ's a fucking dick, man.
I don't like CJ.
CJ looks.
He reminds me of why I don't want children.
Okay, CJ looks like my neighbor growing up. His name was Mikey Heinrich.
Okay.
And Mikey Heinrich was a punk. He was younger than me, but he was just a little fucking dickhead. But his mom used to get undressed in front of the window.
Hell yeah.
And I just remember, like, because she, like. She had like the woman in Swamp Zombies 2 where she had big fake boobs that were like they didn't fit on her body properly, like they looked like goldfish eyes. So like she was way too thin for the boobs that she had, and then they like puffed out on both sides. But we used to purposely ride our bikes behind.
Because they were still boobs.
Well, yeah, of course, and I was in fifth grade, you know. But we used to ride our bikes in the grass behind the houses, behind the gates. At certain times because we knew that she would be getting undressed. Yeah,
that's funny. I'm always the window changing neighbor. I do that on purpose.
She probably did too. Yeah, and her husband looked like he could have been a roadie for Foghat. Like, you know, like like he looked like Tom Petty's character on King of the Hill, Lucky, who slipped in the pee-pee at the Costco. But we watched Nightmare in a Damaged Brain, or Nightmare, depending on where you saw it.
We apparently saw it in Dutch.
We did. We watched the Dutch rip. So it had Dutch subtitles on it.
I spent the entire time like reading the subtitles because they were Dutch is close enough to German and therefore English that I just had a fun time reading them.
Yeah.
But
because it was the only version I could find because it just got a cleaned up 4K remaster, special edition. I've been endlessly fascinated by this movie for years. It's a notorious video nasty.
Which is interesting, because of the video nasties you've shown me, it's not very nasty.
No, like, again, like, nobody went to jail for necromantic.
Yeah,
but
that's true, though.
People, because the UK, anybody who's watching us in the UK, if they know enough about the Video Recordings Act and the video nasties that Thatcher's government tried to crack down, it was sort of like in the 50s, in America, where they tried to like do that with comic books, where they had like seduction of the innocent and stuff like that. That Batman and Robin were gay, and Superman was a Nazi like propaganda, and Wonder Woman was feminine agendas being pushed and all this kind of stuff. Frederick Wertham, that was the guy, Dr. Frederick Wertham, who tried to destroy the comic book industry in the 50s, and it took down EC Comics. But so yeah, the 80s when VHS started happening, and a lot of movies were banned for a really, really long time. And then they didn't even start like watching the movies. They just started banning movies based on the titles. So the musical comedy Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, which is like so carefree with Dolly Parton, that was banned and stuff like that. But yeah, so this movie it's really notorious for two reasons. One reason was British distributor decided they were going to release the unedited copy, and when they did that, they did 18 months in prison for it. Because it used to be back in the day, if you got raided, if you had like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or something like that, Evil Dead was one where Sam Raimi had to go before Parliament and explain like, obviously, tree rape is not gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like like an evil book is not gonna happen. You know, but yeah, so he did 18 months in prison they did 18 months in prison for that. 21st Century put this out, which was an offshoot of another distribution company. And the big thing that people know for this is about Tom Savini. You know who Tom Savini is, right?
Yes, I do know who Tom Savini is.
Tom Savini was a makeup effects giant in the 1970s, 1980s. Friday the 13th, Dawn of the Dead, you name it, he did it. Texas Chainsaw 2, even though he says that he hated working on that movie. I love Texas Chainsaw 2.
I do too.
Bubba's got a girlfriend. But yeah, so they plastered his name all over the movie.
They were like,
from the man who brought you Dawn of the Dead and this. And,
this fucking movie.
and he says, and Savini goes, I was paid as a consultant, but I didn't do the special effects.
Okay.
So, but there's pictures of him on set operating, like showing the kid how the action works. And the head that they use at the end is suspiciously like the one that Mrs. Voorhees had at the end of the first Friday the 13th. But Cleve Hall and Art French were the ones who got credited. Now, Cleve Hall just died 2 years ago. Used to be a really cool reality show called Monster Men on Sci-Fi Channel. And he looked like, he was this older, kind of chubbier guy. He was kind of bald, but he looked like a vampire. He was bald on top. He had long hair. He had black lipstick on. He wore like frilly shirts. He had vampire teeth. But they had a reality show where it was him and his daughter, and I think it was his son, and they would create practical effects for like the Asylum movies. Like they would do like two-headed shark attack and stuff like that. And I really, really got to like him as a personality from that show. And it got canceled way too soon. And then I think he passed away from COVID. But this was his first job. And you could tell some of the effects were better than the other ones. Like when Kathy gets the pickaxe to the arm was not as professionally done as the other ones. But like stuff like the back getting stabbed was like hard. Like it did not look great, but it still looked painful. It looked like Savini doing The Burning, where, there's a great shot in The Burning where the killer pops up on the raft and he has the hedge clipper things, and it has to hit something hard to show that it's real, and then they cut to the fake one, and the kid goes like this, and they cut all his fingers off, and his fingers, and then a girl gets slashed across the face with it. It's really, really fucking cool. But Savini sued to have his name removed from the marketing of it. So on the poster, and I have it in the other room. I gotta go get it.
Oh yeah, you said
we'll stop it and we'll go back in it. But they put a sticker over it, and it just says, "You haven't been scared since," and not "from the guy who brought you," just to save money on those things. So they covered up his name with stickers on it.
Okay.
The director, Italian. He was visiting a friend in Cocoa Beach, Florida, when he heard this story about, psychiatrists who were using, drugs to kind of re-educate the brains of hardened criminals. And that's where he had this idea, because the movie is about a guy who's he had a sexual murder of like a family. Yeah. And he's been institutionalized, and he's been on this, he's been on these drugs where, a guy who looks like a girl dressed as a guy. The little one, like it looks like a Saturday Night Live skit.
Yeah, so he doesn't even mean a trans guy necessarily. No. He means like...
Like, did you ever watch All That? Did you ever hear the show All That? There was like a little chubby girl who would like dress as like a man with like a bald head and stuff like that, and like play a businessman. It reminds me of that. And then the other doctor, the one who is or is not wearing the Canadian tuxedo.
Oh yeah, Canadian tuxedo, all denim.
I thought it
Or
was
cowboy hat.
I thought it because he's wearing a dress shirt,
Yeah.
a dress jacket, jeans, and a cowboy hat.
Okay, because I always heard it was jeans, denim jacket.
Okay.
But yeah,
Either
which
way,
is correct.
Either way, it's a motherfucker who knows how to party. You know?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
he looks like the dad from Growing Pains, the you know, or no, Family Ties, the Michael J. Fox show.
Okay.
And yeah, because I was
But
reading,
anyway, yes.
yeah, I was reading a thing. Do you know who Brett Favre is?
Yeah. Yes.
So Brett Favre apparently stole like a bunch of money from like welfare
he
people and
sucks.
shit. But now like he's like, oh, I have Parkinson's disease. I was like, you know who else has Parkinson's disease?
Oh,
Michael J.
man.
Fox. You know what Michael J. Fox never did? Stole money from poor people. You
Yeah,
know,
I
he did travel back in time accidentally and then make Biff into, you know, into Donald Trump, but they fixed it. You know,
Fixed it.
yeah.
But no, yeah, I am familiar with him because I remember my dad laughing when I read his name phonetically, and then he was like, "No, keep doing that. We don't like him." And I'm like, "Okay."
Did you ever see There's Something About Mary?
No.
Oh, you never saw Something About Mary?
No, but I know there's a connection there somehow. 'Cause he referenced it
She's a
before.
big fan of the San Francisco 49ers, and Ben Stiller has a huge crush on her. And when he's in the movie in high school, he asks her out on a date, and she says yes, and he goes to the bathroom, and he accidentally zips up too fast, so his balls get stuck in the zipper, but they're somehow above his dick, and they just show his balls. But when he meets up with her later in life, he asks her on a date, but he's like, the guy's like, you gotta jerk off beforehand, so you're thinking clearly. Well, he jerks off, but he doesn't know where it goes, and they go out on a date, and it's sticking to his ear, and she thinks it's hair gel, and they're sticking.
Yeah, that I knew about.
But
what does that do with Brett Favre?
because she winds up, one of her ex-boyfriends is Brett Favre, and she's like, I could never date him because he's not a San Francisco 49er. He's like, what about Brett Favre? So whenever I hear his name, I think about Ben Stiller. What about Ben Favre? But yeah, so I don't know how we got on that. But yeah, so Nightmare on a Damaged Brain, or Nightmare, you know, they try to set it up as this big mystery as to why he's calling this little kid,
Right,
CJ, and he somehow gets from New York City to Cocoa Beach, Florida, in the time it takes the mom to go on a date with Cheech Marin.
Because they go out of the way to be like, first day, second day, final day, which I was like, before what? Obviously before like the climax of the movie,
Yeah.
it was just kind of like, before what? Which like, you know. But yeah, so he leaves New York, and then we hear Philadelphia on the radio, and we're like, oh, neat. And then, then
South
like
Carolina.
10 minutes later, yeah, it was like North Carolina or something.
Where he goes to Gatsby's.
And it was like, first of all, I've driven from approximately Philadelphia to North Carolina.
Yeah.
We did that every year for a while for family vacation.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a 9-hour drive.
Yeah, but then he just keeps on fucking trucking.
And then he keeps going to Florida, which is a 12-hour drive from Philadelphia, and he drove from fucking New York. So he did a 14-hour drive in like 10 minutes.
It's amazing.
I know.
It's pretty amazing. No, I was saying to you, I was like, I went on a 24-hour date one time.
Oh yeah, you did say
It was super weird. I went out with a girl one time, and the adventure started just like, let's go do something, and then something turned into, let's go here, and then let's go here, and the next thing you know, it's the next day, and then we're still on it, and I'm just like, one of us has to like, are we doing date chicken now, you know? But then we dated for a really long time after that, so it's not, you know.
I realized recently that my first date with my Tony was like 12 hours, and I didn't.
What did you do to Tony? Did you hurt Tony?
I didn't kill him.
It seems like you might have, the way you said that. And they just pulled
No,
the
he
shit
didn't
off.
even get all like angry about it. He's like, I didn't kill him.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, cold and. But then it makes sense at the end when you get there.
no, for sure.
You know,
like,
after but everyone,
you didn't.
everyone
Why are you
in this,
acting like that?
everyone in Florida is just concerned with this one kid.
Yeah.
You know, like the jogging girl is like, CJ, what are you doing in here?
I know your bike.
Yeah,
What?
and it's like,
who
why?
are you?
You're an
We've
adult.
never seen you before.
We thought it was the first time I
Always the
saw it. I
babysitter.
thought it was the babysitter as well.
And then I was like, no, she doesn't care about him. And then she came back anyway, so I guess she did.
And then she's getting fucking eaten by rats, and then Tony goes in there. There's another cut of the movie where you see Tony get strangled, which they didn't. I guess was out of this version.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of different cuts of it.
Bonk.
But yeah, this movie is because we're all over the map. This movie is like it's reminiscent of a lot of other things.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of pieces in this. When
Yeah,
you have the
definitely
whole
a lot
like
of
the flashback scene, because you keep seeing this flashback scene of a little kid in a bow tie, who's like he sees S&M basically going on.
Oh yeah.
But we don't know. We're never told
The
if it's
kink.
the dad cheating on the mom
or if
it's
that's the mom.
the
also.
mom. And then if that's the case, like, fucking mind your business, Bowtie.
But also, like, this was incredibly funny to see, you know, the 1981 representation of kink. Because I'm like, alright, she's tying him up with, like, twine. Also, you're really not supposed to do that, but whatever, right? Hey, maybe he's in the...
That's his thing,
future.
yeah.
And then she, like, gets on top of him and just starts slapping him.
Mm-hmm.
And just, like, you know, and at first I'm like, alright, well, that, you know, she's working up to something else. But later, when we, like, at the end of the movie, when we see the entire fucking flashback, and she literally...
just drags her nails down his stomach.
Oh, she
and
does
not
do
even,
that
like,
at one point,
yeah.
but, like, I even mean, like, in the time it takes the kid to go, like, come up, find them, go down, get the axe, come back...
Yeah.
She's been slapping him for most of that, and then at the very end, she, like, does that.
But maybe that's, like, his thing. Like, maybe that's all he wanted. So it reminded me, again, there's pieces in there. There's deep red in there, because in the flashback scene in that, when, you know, we've watched Deep Red, didn't we?
Yes.
Yes. So,
or I didn't, but you explained it.
Okay.
Okay. We talked
because
about
the son, you know, you think that the son is the murder. Spoiler alert. You think the son is the murderer, but it was the mom. But the kid, you know, he's dressed very much the same. It's Christmas, and you just see him holding the knife, which only has blood on both sides of the knife, but not in the part that would, like, actually go into the body.
Oh.
So it's like if you painted, like, a gingerbread man kind of thing. There's a little bit of pieces, there's a little bit of Deep Red, there's a little bit too of Christmas Evil, where the kid sees his dad dressed as Santa Claus having, like, given oral to the mom under the Christmas tree, and that kind of sets him off.
There's also there's some Home Alone with a gun.
There's a little Home Alone with a gun. There's a little Home Alone with a gun. There's a lot of Halloween, because obviously all the POV stuff and all of the, like, even, like, the night he came home is the tagline.
Right.
That's basically what the ending of this movie is, and then him putting on the mask and stuff. I did like that the mask was set up earlier in the movie when the babysitter's having one of her many free showers at the house, where he comes in and he's got the mask and, like, the thing. But that scene also kind of reminds me of Tobe Hooper's Funhouse, where the sister's having a shower and the brother comes in with, like, a Halloween thing. There's, like, a lot of stuff at the
there's a shining moment.
Yeah, with the gun shot through the door.
It wasn't a gun. Because
like, he reaches
after he fucking very slowly chops the door.
But there's
with, like, the most satisfying extraction noise. So, like, he's got some fucking. It's not a hammer.
It's like a pickaxe.
It's like a pickaxe, and he keeps hitting the door with it. But it goes in, and then every time he pulls it out, I guess it would get, like, a little bit stuck on the wood. It made this really nice noise. I was just very delighted with the, like. Like, I don't know.
There's some of that. There's even some, like, the scene with the babysitter when her boyfriend shows up and they have sex. Because the music in this movie is fucking weird.
The music in the video is all...
you could tell that the director was a porn director, the way he lingers on certain things. But the music will go from 70s porn music to honky-tonk music.
To, like, at one point I was like, is this the Shire?
Yeah, like, it sounds like they arrived
like
in the
really
Shire.
Nice flute happening.
They're gonna be, like, inside doing the scene, and, like, fucking Gandalf goes by with fireworks outside. Like, nobody knows what's going on, you know?
That's precisely what he needs to just shoots the gun.
Yeah, he gets... That would be out of nowhere. He gets it's a special edition of Lord of the Rings. Peter Jackson puts his movie into a completely other movie, and people are like, genius.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, there's a lot of, there's definitely a lot of Halloween with, the little girl from the Nickelodeon show dressed as a man, and the dad from Family Ties are basically Dr. Loomis. You know, I love the whole, like, I'm sorry. You're sorry? People are dead! You're sorry! And he's got, like, a big, like, oversized, like, Looney Tunes...
It was so funny, too, because, like, again, I was paying attention to the subtitles the whole time. Now I know how to say I'm sorry in Dutch,
well, there you go.
guess.
See?
But yeah, so I'm looking at that, trying to deconstruct. I'm like, alright, so that would probably be... Because I know in German, if you're apologizing, you would say, es tut mir leid, which means, like, it does pain to me, essentially. So it does sorrow to me.
Yeah.
Presumably implied the thing I did. I don't know. So I was like trying to deconstruct that,
and then I just jumped.
Yeah, the character's like, I'm sorry, and I'm like, all right, so that's, and you just go, sorry, and I'm like, huh? And I'm like, 2 seconds later, the guy in the movie turns around and goes, sorry, and I'm like, oh, okay.
So
it was like the same cadence.
I don't know if because I've seen this movie a lot of times.
Yeah.
I didn't know this movie existed until probably like 2003. They did a 24-hour film festival for Exhumed Films, but it wasn't in Philly at this point. It was at the Cinemark Theater where we saw Split.
Oh.
When the Pittman Theater that I wound up running.
Split at the Wayne.
No, we saw. We saw.
No,
we didn't. We had to go see it with your ex-boyfriend in South Jersey.
I thought we did because I kept sneaking in to watch it. It was Glass.
You watched Glass with us.
Glass.
Split we saw at the Cinemark.
Tyler.
Is that who it was?
You said my ex-boyfriend. I feel like Tyler's one of the only ones
I don't remember.
I think so.
But yeah, we met because
important.
I lived right around the corner at that time. I was running the Wayne. We didn't get that movie.
Right.
And we met at we all met because I think I brought somebody too. We all met at the Cinemark Theater.
Yeah, no, I do remember this because
because that was the disassociative one.
Yes, that's the D&D one. I remember, I do remember bringing him to one of those.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be him.
Yeah.
The time frame lines up. But anyway.
But yeah, so, what were we talking
Sorry,
about?
the Cinemark.
Cinemark. Oh, yeah, so it was a 24-hour Exhumed Film Cinemark show. And this was, like, at the end of the night after fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Blood Feast, like, all these movies. We're punch drunk at this point. And there'll just be these scenes where George Tatum, the character, is like screaming and like frothing at the mouth.
Yeah.
Because at the one point he's in a sexual things set him off.
Yeah. And he went to like this. So initially went to like this peep show kind of thing.
Which
and
is
then I think
one of the cool things about this movie. They clearly they shot the bulk of it in Cocoa Beach, Florida. And I like the look of that, especially with like a foreign filmmaker making a movie in that part of America. Mm-hmm. It reminds me of like Troll 2, where they made a movie in Utah, and you could tell that like the actors were kind of on their own because of the language barrier and a lot of stuff. But it led to there's actually some interesting performances in this movie, and while it is a ripoff of a lot of different things, like I said, there is pieces. There is, Halloween, obviously, that kind of stuff. There's some interesting performances in the movie as well, but I also really like that 42nd Street, New York, 1980 look where they're panning the street, and you have all the porno theaters, and then you have the Grindhouse theaters, because Caligula is playing. When we were watching it, I was like, "Oh, Caligula!"
We were just talking about Caligula.
Yeah. But he goes into a peep show. And the one girl I thought was Ginger Lynn. It's not Ginger Lynn, but she looks like Ginger Lynn. And it's kind of giving him flashbacks of what happened. And the girl is like, she's inside the thing and she's got a vibrator.
Oh yeah, at one point, he does like, I guess it's a phone sex thing, but she's got a vibrator.
Yeah.
She's like, before he even says his name, she's like moaning like she's coming, and I'm like, you gotta draw it out. You can't.
Nope. She wants to get right to it, man.
She wants to get right to it, but
so he kind of like froths at the mouth.
Yeah, he like convulses and falls to the ground and just like froths. And
but I thought it was kind of cool that they let them film in those places.
Which was funny because then I was like, oh, they probably filmed in the off hours, and Newt's like, what are the off hours for like a peep show?
Yeah.
Like, I presume like the daytime. I don't know. Like,
like
10 o'clock in the morning.
We're gonna close at 10 o'clock in the morning so you guys can film your movie here. You know.
Like.
But then what happens to the morning perverts?
They could. I don't know.
I'm
just saying. Are those places 24 or were they?
I would assume 42nd Street was 24 hours.
Oh, that's true. 42nd Street. Okay, then I don't know.
So they had to close it off, and
it's probably like 10 a.m. on a Monday or something. Like.
But that's when the best jerking off happens.
So like
you get yourself a pre-work jerk.
Legitimately, because remember when I worked at Adult World, I was always complaining about that. I would open the store at 10 a.m. and there were already dudes who've been waiting out there. Like at night,
you were late. I don't think I could stay hard this long, but I'm willing to try.
Right? Like I'm rolling up at like 9:30, 9:45, whatever, and like to open the store, and they're literally like sitting out there in their cars.
Yeah.
The bolder ones are coming up to the door and trying to get me to open it early, and I'm like, absolutely
Night of the Horny Dead.
Right?
Like they're like trying to bang on the door to get in.
Right? Like, and I was just so. you know, I don't know. Yeah, you're probably right. 42nd Street was 24 hours because you got those guys coming in. It's 9 a.m. on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Fucking
It's like
lining
I have a hard on now, like
right?
you know.
Like,
but it's
morning wood, I guess.
It's interesting. Yeah, there you go. That's what you call it. It's like the early bird special at like Red Robin, you know. Yum.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I was wondering about that. I was like, okay, this is like a smaller, and this movie made good money too, despite the fact that it was a video nasty. But I was just like, it's interesting, like that they were able to get in there and film. And there's other movies. There's other movies that have used like those peep show things, like George C. Scott's Hardcore is another one that uses those. But it's interesting to see the inside of those kind of places. It must have been fucking wild. Like 42nd Street just seems like it would be like Sodom and Gomorrah,
right?
And it's like
You're like, hey, camera crew. Like,
yeah, and it's just so it's just weird to think like at one point before they cleaned up New York City that it was this kind of like gross but fascinating place, And it's cool to see all the marquees and the sex shops, stuff like that. Now it's all like upscale restaurants and like theaters. But at one point it was just like filthy fucking gay porno theaters and shit like that, Or places showing Caligula or like 24-hour kung fu movies. There's a really cool representation of it in Arnold Schwarzenegger's Last Action Hero.
Okay.
Right before Disney and Giuliani kind of kicked everybody out, they had to go and rebuild what the grindhouses would look like for that Schwarzenegger movie. There's a YouTube guy, 42nd Street Pete, who he tells a lot of stories about working in the porno theaters and the grindhouse theaters. If you have a chance, I would check out his channel. But yeah, it's neat to see New York at that time before Giuliani came in and swept all that shit under the rug. But then they leave New York and they go down to where the bulk of this movie kind of takes place. And for a movie that is considered like a video nasty, it does take a lot of time for anything to happen whatsoever. The kills are so sparse. And CJ is a little fucking prick.
He is.
And but I do like stuff like I do like the interaction between like the fucking Cheech Marin looking sea captain stepdad, and even with the mom, like there is something like she's a terrible mom. Where she's just kind of fucking off on a boat to bang like a sea urchin while her kids.
That's not even the part that bothered me, because like. She knew her kids wouldn't be home.
Yeah, I know, but still.
But like, then she comes home and fucking screams at them and punishes the two who were not involved.
They didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah,
CJ like pretended to get stabbed.
And his siblings are freaking the fuck out, and the mom calls while it's happening, and they're like, "Hey, mom, CJ got stabbed or something."
Yeah.
They just say he's bleeding, which then got the really amazing line as soon as she rolled up with the kid like, "Mommy, he's dying," or something like that.
But no, I did like that stuff. There was a very interesting dynamic there because you could tell that like Sea Captain guy was like trying to be a good dude.
Yeah.
And even with the mom, like, and when you find out the reveal at the end, which is like everyone saw coming from a mile away.
Yeah, that was interesting because you obviously revealed it before.
Yeah.
But then like they hint at it they try to hint at it with the computer being like, where's this guy likely to be? 91% in like this random beach. Was it? I can't remember if it was Daytona. Or
he's going to.
They were like Florida, and I was like, now why the fuck does the computer know that? Which made sense later when they start driving down to it. Well, yes, of course, they start driving down, and the one that might be a woman dressed as a man, I don't know.
Sorry.
Was like, the SNL skit doctor was like. But it almost seemed like you revealed the fact, like, that the family name to the other guys. The other guys were like, what?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I thought you guys knew that. Like, so yeah, they're like, you see, there's another family with the same last name, and they have the same things happen. Gotta be the same guy. Which is also interesting to me, because, like, I'm trying to figure out how, my brain is saying William Taft. That's not his name.
No, that was a president.
Yeah.
George Tatum.
George Tatum. You know what's funny is in order to remember his first name being George, I have to remember the girl like climaxing before he even said it, and I'm like, okay, George.
George.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, it's George.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tatum fucking what was I gonna say? Where was I going with that?
I don't know.
Oh, God.
Who was gay in real life?
Oh,
and
yeah.
when he was in the porn booth, the director's like, you have to act like, you know, it's a hot girl, and he did like a behind the scenes thing, like on the DVD that came out, and he was just like, I just pretended he was a hot guy, you know, I was like, whatever goes, you know.
It worked.
Yeah.
It looks pretty convincing, but oh man, I forget why I was starting to say that. How did they like obtain him? Like, because
he killed a family that got him institutionalized in the first place.
Oh, that's what they were talking about. Okay.
Yeah. Right. He killed a family that got him institutionalized. So I'm assuming.
I thought they were talking about his family.
I'm assuming that CJ. So I guess he killed his family. He killed his dad and whoever that woman was, if it was his mom. Got out, married that woman.
Right.
They had CJ,
and then
he left, and then he killed a family because he gave into his urges, and then they put him on these medications that was supposed to take care of
but
that
also,
urge.
it seemed like the medications had not been administered for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly they don't know.
Well, because they have it where he's like still taking them when he's hiding in the house.
Yeah.
There is one like legitimately creepy scene in the movie where fucking Cheech Marin and the mom are taking pictures outside, and there's someone.
I guess they're trying to sell the house.
Yeah, because of the dude who like is not
the guy who's
English.
like ADR.
Yeah. Oh, that's very good. I think that will sell very quickly. Yes. Okay. I'll talk to you later. And it's just like, what? Where did that voice come from?
Like,
it reminded me of like.
I would very much like to purchase this home, and it will sell fast. So please give me pictures of this place.
Yeah, and it reminded me of like the movie Ega, where you go, here, watch out for snakes, and it's like, where the fuck did that come from, you know?
Sounds like the guy's like over your shoulder.
Yeah, it's like,
watch out for snakes.
I'm going to now? What? Are they in here with me?
No, I shan't.
Okay.
No, I was just gonna make fun of that one scene in Swamp Zombies 2.
Oh, well, which one?
No, the one in particular where because the ADR is
especially at the end of the movie.
That's what I was gonna say. It's acceptable until the lights go out, because then you don't know.
Well, because we didn't
that
film
everyone's
the scene, and then he just goes, "I need you and Crystal to say lines."
Yeah. But you guys were in different rooms when you.
We weren't even in the same state.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You can hear that it's a different room.
I filmed mine in the office at the Wayne.
She
filmed hers backstage at NJ Pack.
Right, but there's like there are ways that you should be able to disguise that because
not in Swamp Zombies 2.
No, because I was gonna say
a lot.
My line in Nunchucks is ADR, but you can't tell.
Well, it blends better with the thing.
True. But like anyway, that's the vibe, because there are like 3 or 4 of you talking in that scene, and none of you sound like you're in the same.
Nope, we're not even the same. Continent.
Same state.
But there's a really cool thing where the guy's taking pictures with the Polaroid.
Oh yeah,
and he's up in the window, and I was like, oh, that's a cool.
Yeah,
scene.
They're like, all right, relax, and after you take this picture, he's like, hey, is there anybody in the house?
Yeah, that's creepy.
It's like, no, there's nobody in the house. And then they have the picture, and it's like, there's a dude in the window, and then they look up, and there's no dude in the window.
And then they go up in there, he's just hiding in the but that was what ruined it, is he was just literally hiding in like a kind of open closet, and you're like, oh.
And they're like, there's nobody up here, and you're like, yeah, they searched everywhere except that one closet.
Yeah, no, there's some cool shit in the movie too, like when he goes to that bar and kills that woman. I love regional filmmaking, especially like 70s and 80s regional filmmaking. There's a movie called Slithis that was made in like Southern California, and it's got like, it like feels very like very regional, and I just love shit like that, you know, so it's cool. Yeah. This one has a lot of that too, because you don't see movies made in Cocoa Beach, Florida, you know, but they try to play off George Tatum as like this Michael Myers kind of, or Norman Bates kind of figure. And
I think it is definitely trying to invoke Norman Bates.
Yeah. But the filmmaker, like, Romano Scavolini, like, is such a pretentious fuck when you hear him talk, or read articles and stuff like that. But, and then the score of the movie is, did we talk about this already? Where
Oh,
it's like
yeah,
a
briefly.
Oh yeah,
It's
okay,
like-
we did. But it's just
I-
like Zamfar like Zamfir the pan flute periodically in a horror scene.
It was really great too because when the flute started, I was like, it sounds like there's a guy in the room with him playing the flute. It didn't sound
That would be
like
great if the
background.
camera pan is like, oh,
And
this
some
is
guy just
fucking
like,
weird. Yeah.
But then they would segue into the next scene, and then we got like the Shire ass theme, and I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, somebody fucking throw a coin to your Witcher. Like, what is going on here? Yeah, and then you have Tony gets killed. Tony gets strangled. The jogger gets fucking killed off screen to death, but like then rats get her.
They were just visually just chilling on her.
Yeah,
It was like,
what's
good.
up? We're not eating her or anything. We're just fucking
like,
hanging out. And they take a little boy to look at it. The mom just is like abusive to the son, just screaming at her kids constantly.
And
But I mean,
kid.
the kid is also a fucking dickhead.
Yeah, to be fair, I hate this kid.
Yeah.
I did not birth this kid, you know.
No.
But
It would have been weird for you to travel back in time, birth that child, and then travel forward in time.
I never saw that movie. But but no, I did not like the way she talked to and about her children.
No, and fucking
because like she's
Sailor Dave is just trying to be a good dude.
Yeah.
You know, he's just like, let's
she's
go
like running around like, I fucking hate this family or this home. I've hated it ever since you know.
He left
this guy
because they don't
left.
say
Yeah,
that
he
it's
left
George.
when yeah, I was like
Yeah.
He left when right after CJ was born. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, we
You're
know
just
what's
gonna
going on.
announce that to all
Yeah,
the children that
right?
you now.
Yeah, and who are the other kids? You know.
Oh yeah, because they're younger. Because they at one point the boyfriend, the seafarer man,
Bluto from Popeye almost.
is like you've got to be the man of the house.
Yeah,
now
yeah,
to
you're the
CJ.
oldest.
Yeah, implied that he's the oldest. I don't know if he said it explicitly.
But again, he's like, would you marry my mom? There's like there's little beats in this where it doesn't feel okay. Another movie it kind of reminds me of is another video nasty called The Witch Who Came from the Sea. There's a little bit of that in it as well. I'm a huge fan of video nasties. Another YouTuber to check out, because I said check out 42nd Street Pete stuff. But also Lampy Man is another YouTuber. Glenn Criddle was actually a friend of mine. I discovered his stuff back in 2010 and became fucking obsessed with it. I watched through all of his videos, and then back at the Wayne when we used to do the cult shows, he was the British guy who would do those reviews before the movie. So I was like, oh, you want to do? He did like scalps and stuff like that for me. But he's another one who did these kind of videos. But yeah, so this one like it doesn't really earn its. It's like, what's going on?
Sorry, we're good. Just setting them out.
He doesn't really. This movie doesn't really earn its reputation.
Not really, no.
There is a couple interesting
pretty
kills.
solid gory scenes.
The decapitation is really cool. You know, but for the most part, I've seen way nastier video nasties. This one just has the reputation. I think it would have faded into obscurity if it wasn't for the guys going to jail or the Tom Savini thing. I think the Tom Savini thing is the thing that everybody
Which is hilarious
knows.
because presumably if he was suing to get his name off of it, he did not want them making, you know, anything off of his name. Versus now they're like, hey, did you hear about that movie that Tom Savini sued to like...
Exactly, yeah. It's like the genie's out of the fucking bottle at this point.
What, Streisand effect? Is that...
Oh, the Streisand effect, yeah, yep.
That is the correct usage of that term.
Yes,
right?
South Park had a whole episode about it. But yes, but this has always been one that I've been kind of fascinated with, mostly because you hear certain sounds and it takes you back to a place.
Yeah.
The scream in the beginning when he pulls back the sheets, that reminds me of sitting in the projection booth at the Cinemark Theater in Somerdale, New Jersey, being fucking punch-drunk from a 24-hour film festival where I'm running the projectors, building movie. There's only so many places to, because when it was filmed, it used to be a platter system. You'd have 3 platters, you'd run a movie to it, it would rewind itself. So we had 24 hours worth of movies. You'd have to keep moving prints around. So we'd have to keep getting it to where it needed to be. So I'm punch drunk from that, and then you just hear George Tatum screaming because that opening shot's actually cool when he pulls back the sheet and it's her decapitated head and the eyes open. It's really cool. There's a lot of neat imagery in the movie, and there's some interesting beats in the movie when it comes to like character shit. But so much of it takes so fucking long to get where it needs to get.
It definitely dragged.
Yeah. And I think that, like, you know, obviously them cutting certain things for the video nasties and all that kind of stuff, But this is always one that I've always been kind of fascinated with because it's a dirty movie. Yeah. Like it's a movie that makes you feel kind of gross after watching it.
Kind of like a Maniac, where it was like this
yes,
is covered in.
That's
grime.
another movie that reminds me of Maniac, where it's got that. That's a good pull. I didn't even think about that. I mean, I thought about that in the
Because
past.
I distinctly recall when we made our Maniac review, that's all I could think of was I was just like, I felt like I found this in a grimy basement.
Exactly, yeah.
And then like I got some shit on my fingers and I put it in there, and then obviously this didn't have watched on fucking YouTube or something.
Yeah,
but you know what I mean? Like that was the vibe of it. Was like I fucking found this in some basement.
Yeah.
And then like
it's a work of like certain things you look at. It's a work of madness.
Right.
You know, and
that felt grimy, and this has a little bit of that.
And it's not as grimy.
No.
Because but again, Tom Savini did the special effects on that one again with the head blowing up and all that kind of shit. This one just doesn't have that same full grab because it does take so long to get things. But I
like Maniac more. But
me too.
The vibe.
But I genuinely I genuinely returned to this movie not a lot, but
enough that you were able to fucking sorry.
Yeah. Because I still
that fucking killed it. I was like, what did you just do?
Because it was so funny. After we saw this again, it was probably 2002, 2003. Because I was definitely dating Christy Berger at the time. Okay. And there used to be the Pennsauken Mart was open, and it was when I worked at UA when I met Justin and all those people. Yeah. There was also a UA in Pennsauken. And that theater was, they needed a part-time guy, so I would go over there to work at the Pennsauken UA theater, and then on my lunch breaks, I would walk around the Mart. And the Mart had this incredible video store where it had like fucking everything on VHS. And I remember after I saw this movie, I asked the dude, I was like, do you have that movie? And he gave me the guy who worked there who he looked like Crosby, Stills, and Nash all mashed into one guy. Like, like if they got caught in like a Star Trek machine,
transporter accident.
Yeah, whatever came back didn't survive long. But yeah, so that dude told me about the video nasty stuff and all that kind of thing. And I remember he tracked me down a copy, and I had this on VHS at one point, and I wish I knew what I did with it. Because I still have copies of over there The Fog and The Dawn of the Dead that came in the weird rainbow box and stuff like that. But I wish I knew they're probably on the fucking set still of half the movies because I didn't give me back all my stuff. But yeah, so this is a movie with it's weird shifting tones. It takes way too long to get to things, but when it gets to the sleazy voyeuristic stuff, it's very sleazy and voyeuristic. Yeah. It's very much in the ilk of Halloween, but a grosser Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween, where it's a white trashy kind of vibe to it, because Carpenter has more tact to his. But yeah, and then it definitely fits in that video nasty world when it gets to those things, but it takes so fucking long to get there. Yeah. It's dudes walking down the beach, it's guys driving, welcome to North Carolina, welcome to Florida, welcome to Philadelphia, and it's very tonally inconsistent, but it is one of those video nasties that I return to a lot. Maybe because I'm so fascinated by the Tom Savini angle of it. I'm fascinated by how they were able to film for low budget in those porn places and stuff like that. And some of the effects were good. And like I said, I love Ed French's work. I love Cleve Hall's work. Obviously, Tom Savini. I mean, there's a very famous behind-the-scenes picture of him showing the kid how to use the axe and stuff like that. I've watched all the behind-the-scenes stuff on it, and CJ in real life's name is CJ too, which I thought was kind of funny.
They were like, this is easier.
Yeah, whatever, But no, it's not a good movie. It's not, but it's one.
No, but it was still aside from feeling that it dragged on a bit, it was still compelling. I still enjoyed. It's like you were saying. I enjoyed the interactions with the family.
Yeah.
George's stuff was the part that felt really out of place, and I know that it was probably because they wanted to keep it a mystery.
Yeah.
But okay, this is a movie and we're following this family and this guy. There's obviously a reason. This is going to come together at the end. Why is he driving all the way to New York to this family? And that's where, obviously you get to the conclusion, But
That's
like,
my husband.
right.
But it's like,
like,
yeah, we knew that 45
They
minutes
were
ago.
interesting enough to follow the whole time.
Mhm.
It was kind of hard to keep up with George.
Yeah.
Not because he was doing anything particularly interesting, but just because I was like...
He's just foaming at the mouth a bunch.
Yeah, he's just
tiny
like...
whiteys.
Right, he's just like at a porn theater, and then he's at a place with like the greenest light I've ever seen in my life, and then he's
then
like...
he's strangling a chick at a honky-tonk bar.
Right, and
you
I'm
know?
just like, okay, like,
Mhm.
sure, but like, there's no feeling that he had an end goal. He
Yeah.
didn't struggle much with the thoughts. Like, he did at one point, if I remember
called
correctly,
the
he did
doctor,
call,
yeah. So,
But then,
because
like, there's
even
no
when he
really
stabbed the
follow-up
girl,
with that.
he says, I'm sorry. He's
Right.
compelled to do these things. He can't help himself. And
Yeah.
they give you the idea that maybe the drugs are making it worse.
Yeah, and I feel like they could have expanded on that a little
Yeah.
bit more, but also then it would make the movie long. I don't know.
Mhm.
George's parts weren't as interesting to me, which is wild because, you know, obviously a lot of the appeal of things that are gory to me is the gore.
Yeah.
But like, I like watching him kill people. I was like, yeah, that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
But like his actual arc just
Especially
didn't...
when he fucking pulls the boyfriend off screen. And it looks like when, like, Kermit the Frog...
like yoink.
Yeah, but like,
Well,
remember,
he's
like...
also choking too, so he makes a little noise right before he gets pulled off.
But it
screen.
reminds me of, like, when Kermit the Frog would leave a frame and be like...
Literally, he looks like he got pulled off frame, and he breathes in such a way because when he's being strangled, he like is making strangulation noises in such a way too that it sounded like he was like making the leaving sound.
Yeah.
And it was just really fucking funny. I don't know.
And you can tell that they hired all like regional actors too, which was interesting. You know, because nobody was really bad in it, but you could tell that they weren't professional actors.
Sure, yeah.
But I like that they set up.
Especially ADR guy.
Yeah. That's very good. I think I will be able to sell your house.
I think it'll go very fast. You don't have to worry.
Is there ghosts in here? What is? Or somewhere there's like a dude drinking water while he talks, like a ventriloquist dummy.
And like he would talk, like his words ended up running just a little too close to the other person's.
So I was wondering if
dialogue,
maybe that was the director. Because, like, a lot of times, like, you know, because they don't speak English, like Troll 2, like,
so
you
he's
know.
like, say these words.
Yeah, you know, or like,
he doesn't know where to put the inflection.
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, where the guy who's like, you know, over whole country, like, you know, that guy, like, just spoke the words phonetically that Steven Spielberg said because he didn't speak any English.
Right.
You will go to Bangkok Palace and you will get Sibalinga, like, and bring back to us.
But yeah, they were like, we're gonna squeeze all this dialogue in there, and then it would run over into the chick's dialogue. I don't know anybody's fucking name in this movie except for CJ and Tony.
CJ and Tony. Did you hurt Tony? What did you do to Tony?
I didn't kill him.
What if I did? What are you gonna do about it? You got nothing on me, cop.
He's like 8.
Yeah, I mean, but he's 8, but like still like sexy joggers still come to see what's up, you know? And how come they didn't fucking board that building up? Like, they're just letting kids play in there.
Yeah, I was like, I have no idea what that building is.
But it doesn't, but again...
I will never get over him in, like, his footy pajamas carrying a gun. That was the
that was
funniest
the
thing
thing
I've
they
ever seen
didn't
in
set
my
up,
life.
because they set up the mask.
Yeah.
It's still weird that he got the mask, but they
the gun just came out of nowhere. Like,
2 of them.
2 of them.
He's got the handgun, and then he's got a fucking hunting rifle as well, and you're like,
so
where the fuck
he
did
runs
get the
into his
hunting
mom's
rifle?
room, and I think he's calling for her. But in my head, I'm like, that's silly, because you know that Kathy's here.
Yeah.
The babysitter. I apparently know the babysitter's
Kathy's name. Who's just taking fucking free showers.
This happens every time.
Did we
I
see
remember
her
all the
tits
weird side.
in the movie?
No, she was back to us.
Okay, we saw, alright.
Because I remember being like, does every movie, like, because I've seen that, like, shower type.
Yeah.
I don't know how, okay, this sounds weird as hell, but when we were watching her shower, I was very aware of, like, how she, like, washed her hair and, like, got under the water and was doing this the whole time.
To cover,
and I'm like,
yeah,
because I've seen that in other, like, older movies that you've shown me, like, or, you know, like, 80s movies that you've shown, or maybe even earlier. And I'm like, is that, like, that's, like, a thing? But I'm like, because that's not how I would shower, even if I was, like, facing the wall the whole time. That's not how I would shower. So I'm like, and then, because I got stuck on the hair thing a lot, because you're not supposed to get your hair wet without wash. So I'm like, after they filmed the scene, did they just let her finish conditioning her hair? And, like, probably not, but
They just smoked cigarettes and yelled at
yeah, I
her
was
in
to say, I
Italian.
very much digress. This is way too, but yeah, like...
That's what you're focused on.
I was like, ooh, nice back. And I was like, man, her hair's really wet. You know, it's not very good for your hair unless you...
After her boyfriend's like, I'm gonna get some more smoke.
Oh, yeah.
But then the subtitle said joint. Yeah.
The Dutch subtitles were really interesting.
It was also weird that we had to watch them and all the subtitles were on windmills. So I'm watching... because the Dutch, isn't that where like they have windmills?
Oh yeah, okay. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
And wooden shoes. All those subtitles went by with wooden shoes.
Yeah. No, the subtitles are fascinating to me,
because it was the only thing I could find on YouTube was in Dutch. But just Dutch subtitles. Everything else was because there was another version of it that was in Spanish. And I was like, it would be kind of funny to watch it in Spanish, but I'd rather watch it in English. I would have
understood what's going on.
But yeah, no, it's an interesting. It's got some solid gore. I do like when he slashes the girl's throat, and you can still see like it, like they knew enough of like it going with the heartbeat too, which is stuff that like. That's stuff that I think Tom Savini would have had a hand in because he has like not to say anything about Ed French or Cleve Hall, but Savini was like a master of gore, So
and then also absolutely loved after he did finally axe his dad in the head, just fucking pouring.
Yeah, and the bubbling.
Amazing.
They did it. That was a cool scene. And even when he opens up the woodshed. And the light is coming through the thing. Really has a very Evil Dead style, Evil Dead 2 style look to it, which, so this movie's an amalgam of a lot of things. And it made money, and it's a notorious video nasty, but it's one that I revisit every so often, not because it's a good movie, not because I like the movie, but something about it is fascinating.
It's definitely fascinating.
And it's something, and it might just be because of when I saw it the first time on 35 millimeter.
I don't know, because I'm feeling a similar thing where I could say a lot of bad things about this movie.
Yeah.
I could say a decent amount of good things about this movie. It was interesting. Like I'm gonna remember a lot of this, and I don't really know why.
And I can't say like, oh, it's one of my favorite. But when it comes to like the video nasties, it's definitely one I put in the top thing. Like I would put it up there with Cannibal Holocaust. I would put it up there with Necromantic, just because it left an impression. And I've seen that decapitation scene a bunch of times. Obviously, it's the end of the first Friday the 13th movie. But I don't know. There's something weird about this movie that I've always been fascinated with, and it might just be that mixture of the family drama, the regional theater aspect acting of it, with the gory stuff, with the road travel stuff, and it takes so long to get to things. And there's this, because the score is so uneven that it has almost like a dreamlike quality to it.
There's definitely also, because I can feel my brain, every time George popped up, I got a weird feeling, and I don't know, it wasn't like, oh, he's creepy. Yeah. Sure, he is, but my brain's kind of stuck on that feeling, and I don't know how to describe
almost
it.
Almost like a Norman Bates, or Martin. It's a sympathetic thing because he can't, it's not his fault that his brain is fucking broken like that, you know?
But it's almost like my brain didn't want him in the movie, but I don't know how to explain it.
If he maybe worked a little bit more like a Michael Myers, like a boogeyman, where he's in the background of things, and we only get the aftermath or them talking about him, because when you finally get to the reveal,
they do, when he is on screen, they do a good job of I don't know, there's something that my brain
it's uneven. It's just a very, very uneven. It's a movie made by Italians in Florida, so it's not a good movie.
I could see coming back to it for sure.
Yeah, but it's something I've come back to a lot of times, because again, when I finally got it on VHS, I would show it to people. And it screened at Exhumed Films a bunch of times. And they literally just showed it. Nick Lombardo, who's one of the guys who does the Friday Night Frights with for the Colonial Theater, they just did their Italian night a couple months ago or whatever. And they showed it there. It's one of Nick's favorite movies, Nick's In Midnight Show. And I couldn't make it out to it. But every time I find out this movie's playing, I was like, I kind of want to see it on the big screen again. I don't know what it is. There's something fascinating about it. There's something fascinating. Anytime Europeans come to America to make their proximity of an American slasher film, because it is. Oh, bless you. It is. Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry.
It is Halloween. It is.
Shining. And,
it's a million things all mixed into one, and trying to turn a buck, and it did well. And it's not a good movie, but I like it. There is something about it that I like. I like how unnatural it is. I like how regional it is. Like I said about Slithis, I love regional filmmaking. I love when people who live in a place make a movie.
Which is interesting too, because you have that aspect and also the foreign aspect.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because there's
Yeah.
definitely a weird sensibility. You can tell Italians trying to make an American slasher movie, but it goes into territories where American, like one movie I always talk about that we need to do for this channel eventually is Night Killer. And Night Killer, I get blamed for killing Cinemassacre's rental reviews with that. Because they were like, what's a movie we could do, and Night Killer is, well, I think I talked about it before, it was called Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 in Italy, but it was released 6 months after Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 came out, and it's basically like, it's sort of a Nightmare on Elm Street-y kind of movie, but it's so fucking bizarre, and again, it's Claudio Fragasso who did Troll 2, it's so tonally weird that it almost works on that dream logic, but not like this one kind of has a little bit of that too, where it's not quite natural, not to a point of like a Lucio Fulci movie where that one works as a fever dream, and that's what I like about. If you guys, I was having a conversation with somebody on Instagram the other day, and they were talking about Silent Hill. The movie. And they're like, well, it's nothing like the video game. And I was like, okay, I like the movie though. So, the movie feels like a Fulci film. It feels like The Beyond. It feels like Gates of Hell, something like that, where there's just something unnatural about the world you're in. This one has that
also,
a little bit as well.
Can get it.
Exactly. Right? Everybody fucking grabs that chick's chest and pulls her skin completely off and just tosses it.
I've actually never seen the Silent Hill movies.
Oh, really?
All
right. Well, we need to watch that.
I would like to watch the Silent Hill movies.
He fucking picks this chick up, grabs her chest, twists, and rips her skin off in one thing, and then throws it at the camera as a cut, and then she's just muscle.
Oh.
Yeah. It's fucking cool, man.
Don't rip my skin off.
And as oh daddy. We did a way back in the day for Underbelly. We did trick or treating and gaming, and we have like I don't know what the game was, but the guy's like pills. It was like an Islander said that, and he's giving the kids pills. And then we did a GLaDOS arm, but we did it as a full 3D thing that it was really cool. But then we built a pyramid head. And he opens the door, and it's Pyramid Head, but he's dressed as like a 1950s like dad, and he's just like super nice to the kids, like, and he's like, "Don't forget after you eat candy to brush your teeth," and it's like all wholesome, and then the door opens too much, and there's a shirtless guy tied up, and he's like, "Please help me."
Literally me. Oh my god, I love that.
Yeah, we did that. I mean, that was probably like 2010 or 11. We did that.
I love that.
But yeah, that was really fun. But no, yeah. So this is. A movie I've been wanting. I've talked about this movie a bunch of times, but I've never actually reviewed this movie.
Yeah, you've referenced it a lot.
Yeah,
because as you were saying things, I was like, "Oh, it's that. Okay, it's that. Oh, it's that movie."
And
it was like 4.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones where like I would have never heard. Watching this movie that night, it was again they did that 24-hour film festival. Actually, no, it was the Italian Film Festival.
Okay.
It was where I saw this for the first time, and it was one of those ones where like I had fallen asleep in my seat.
Oh no!
And then I woke up at the end of another movie.
Oh, okay.
And then this was the next movie, and I had never heard of this movie before. And then I became like, I gotta find this thing. I gotta track this thing down. And then like trying to explain to the dude because it was a 35mm film print, didn't have the title card.
Right.
The title card was cut off because it was spliced up.
Yeah.
So I'm explaining to Crosby, Stills, and Nash. You know what this movie was, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Nightmare in a Damaged Brain." I was like. Because I didn't know what it was called.
Yeah, sure. You were like, yeah.
Yeah. And when I finally got my copy of it, and the box art's really cool. It's that girl's head decapitated and the arm and stuff. But the poster, I'm gonna stop this, get the poster, and I'll bring that back. You can hit pause instead
of stop, and you want to.
Yeah. I'll do that. But yeah, so this is just one of those movies that like. I guess it's become more known. I don't know who put it out. I don't know if it was Severin or whoever. But yeah, it's just one I revisit every so often because it does have this weird. Dirty, dreamlike kind of vibe to it. And it takes way too long to get to things, like I said. And not all the kills work as well as the other ones. But there is just there's a very unnatural feel to this movie. And then when it gets into the relationships of like, I really like the fucking sea captain guy. You know? And I actually feel really bad for the mom at the end too, because you can see why she is that way. She's stuck living in a place with the kid of a dude who fucking sexually murdered people. So you understand it a little bit. And the mom's just always like naked and like hanging out. And she's got lots of volume in her hair.
I
really like the mom's hair.
That's how I could tell immediately it was an 80s movie, but I'm going to say that and be wrong.
Yeah, no, I think it was.
So I was like, hey, what year was this?
Yeah. But, all right, I'll pause this. I'm going to grab the poster and then we'll talk about the poster.
Sounds good. I'm not sure if the whole thing is visible.